Israeli strikes on two homes in central Gaza Strip killed at least 17 Palestinians and wounded 7 others late on Tuesday. The bodies of 11 people were brought to Al-Aqsa Martyrs Hospital after a strike smashed into a house in Deir al-Balah. Another strike killed 6 people in the Nusrat refugee camp and wounded 7 more. According to the AWDA hospital, which received the casualties, as per Gaza's health ministry, the ongoing Israel-Hamas conflict has claimed over 46,600 Palestinian lives in Gaza, with more than half of the fatalities being women and children. South Korea's impeached President Yoon Suk Yeol was arrested this morning, ending a weeks-long standoff with authorities over his failed martial law bid. In a pre-recorded message, Yoon said he has decided to submit to questioning to avert bloodshed, even though he believed the probe was illegal. Yoon is the first sitting president in South Korean history to be arrested. He left his heavily fortified residence in central Seoul in a convoy to the offices of the Corruption Investigation Office, after a joint team of investigators and police said that they had executed the arrest warrant. Australian Prime Minister Anthony Albanese has vowed to take the strongest action possible if Russia has harmed Oscar Jenkins, an Australian school teacher who was taken prisoner while fighting for Ukraine. Jenkins, who had no prior military experience, was captured and appeared in a video being questioned and struck by a Russian interrogator. Albanese has demanded that Russia immediately confirm Jenkins' status, expressing grave concern about his well-being. Jenkins' situation is particularly concerning as he is the first Australian to be taken prisoner by Russia during the Ukraine conflict. UK's anti-corruption minister Tulip Siddiq has resigned from her post, this after she was named in a probe in Bangladesh into graft accusations against the country's former leader and her aunt Sheikh Hasina. In a letter to Prime Minister Keir Starmer, she repeated that she had done nothing wrong, but did say that continuing in office would likely be a distraction from the work of the government. Siddiq was the minister responsible for financial services and fighting corruption. Bangladesh's interim leader Mohammad Yunus demanded the return of stolen assets, citing corruption under ousted government of Sheikh Hasina, toppled by a revolution last year. Hasina, who fled to India in August 2024, is accused of embezzling billions of dollars in public funds, leaving Bangladesh with a significant financial deficit. The Anti-Corruption Commission is investigating Hasina and her family, including her niece Tulip Siddiq, a British lawmaker and former anti-corruption minister. Yunus said he expected stolen assets to be returned, adding that the stolen funds have not only robbed the people of Bangladesh but also disrupted the country's progress towards economic stability. Guatemalan President Bernardo Arévalo has announced a program to support the return of Guatemalan migrants ahead of Donald Trump's inauguration as U.S. President. The program, which Arévalo outlined in his first annual report to Congress, will have the 3 main pillars: one to support those who are abroad, another for those who have begun their return to Guatemala, and a third for the reintegration of the country. The move comes as countries in the region, including Honduras, Guatemala, El Salvador, brace for a potential influx of vulnerable migrants due to Trump's expected immigration policies. Cuba says it will release 553 prisoners after the United States removed the country from its list of terror sponsors. The White House said President Joe Biden was removing Cuba from the list of state sponsors of terrorism in one of his last official acts before Donald Trump is sworn in next Monday. However, the move will likely be overturned by Trump, who reinstated Cuba's terror designation in the final days of his first term of office. According to a senior Biden administration official, the decision was taken after an assessment that found no information to support Cuba's designation as a state sponsor of terrorism. Cuba welcomed the announcement as a step in the right direction, but lamented that it was still under U.S. sanctions in place since 1962. In an announcement postponed by the LA wildfires, President Joe Biden has designated the new national monuments in California, honoring Native American tribes and protecting picturesque mountains and deserts from mining and energy development. The two monuments, Chuckwalla National Monument and the Satitla Highlands National Monument, cover over 849,000 acres of land, shielding natural wonders like the Painted Canyon of Mecca Hills and the Alligator Rock. These designations are part of Biden's effort to conserve at least 30% of the U.S. lands and waters by 2030. The Republican-led U.S. House of Representatives has passed a bill that severely restricts transgender athletes from participating in women's sports. The legislation would bar transgender students from female teams at schools and universities that receive federal funding. The bill denies sex is based solely on a person's reproductive biology and genetics at birth. The House garnered 218 votes for the bill, including 2 Democrats. LA is bracing for potentially disastrous winds that could worsen ongoing fires, which have already claimed at least 25 lives. Forecasters predict particularly dangerous Santa Ana winds and gusts up to 70 miles per hour. The National Weather Service has issued a warning, urging residents to be prepared to evacuate and avoid sparking fires. The renewed danger comes as 24,000 acres in Pacific Palisades and 14,000 acres in Altadena have been destroyed. Gusting winds are also stirring up toxic ash, prompting health officials to advise residents to wear masks. California Governor Gavin Newsom has ordered debris removal teams to be on standby, anticipating potential winter rainstorms that could trigger mudslides. A thick blanket of fog descended upon India's national capital region this morning, severely impacting visibility and causing dozens of trains to be delayed. The India Met Department has warned of colder temperatures in northern India, with rain predicted today. The IMD has issued an orange alert for Uttar Pradesh to the dense fog, while a yellow alert has been raised for Haryana, Punjab and Uttarakhand. The Weather Department has forecast very heavy rainfall in northern India, accompanied by heavy snowfall in the mountainous regions, leading to severe cold conditions in the plains. A Russian court has slapped Alphabet's Google with $77.9 million fine for its failure to comply with an administrative punishment. For several years, Moscow has ordered foreign technology platforms to remove content it deems illegal. Failure to do so has resulted in small but persistent fines. Moscow has reversed its particular ire for Google's subsidiary YouTube for hosting content it deems objectionable. Critics are of the opinion that Moscow deliberately disrupts YouTube download speeds in a bid to prevent Russians from viewing content not flattering of the president and his government, a charge which is denied by Moscow. The video platform, which once used to attract around 50 million daily users in Russia, has witnessed those numbers plummeting to around $12 million. In the United Kingdom, the antitrust watchdog, the Competition and Markets Authority, has slapped Google's search and its 90% plus market with an antitrust investigation. CMA wasted no time in lodging its first official investigation for 2025 under its new rules, which came into effect this month. This is the first of two investigations the antitrust watchdog has promised into its big tech this month. Under its new rules, the market dominance of Google in search, including the new work it's doing in AI search as well as its giant search advertising business, has come under the scanner. CMA is also looking at potential remedies to improve competition in the dominated market space. Indonesia is planning to issue a regulation to set a minimum age for social media users. According to the country's Minister of Communication and Digital Affairs, the move is aimed at protecting children. The plan comes on the heels of Australia's decision to ban children under 16 years of age from accessing social media. In Indonesia, where internet penetration reached 79.5% last year, 48% of the children under 12 years of age have access to the internet. Among the Gen Z users, or those aged between 12 and 27 years, the internet penetration is 87%. Indonesian President Prabowo Subianto is believed to be supportive of this kind of protection for children in the digital space. China's troubled property giant Country Garden Holdings suffered another record loss in 2023. This comes amid plans to clinch a deal with creditors on a debt restructuring plan by June. The embattled real estate firm reported a loss of $24.3 billion for the year. However, its loss narrowed in the first half of 2024. Country Garden says it expects to reach an agreement with offshore creditors on debt restructuring plans in the first half of 2025. It hopes to start work on bondholders signing restructuring support agreement as soon as possible. The dollar surged on Monday, driving its peers to multi-year lows. This comes after Friday's blowout US jobs report underscored economic strength and fueled growing doubts about the Federal Reserve cutting interest rates this year. The dollar index surged to its highest in more than 2 years, peaking at 110.17 and extending the recent rally. US jobs growth unexpectedly accelerated in December, leaving traders heavily scaling back bets of the rate cuts this year. Markets are pricing in a 25 basis point cut from the Fed for December, after not fully pricing one in for 2025. The US Securities and Exchange Commission has sued Elon Musk over violations during his purchase of Twitter shares in 2022. The regulators say Musk failed to timely file a beneficial ownership report disclosing his acquisition of more than 5% of the outstanding shares of Twitter's common stock in March 2022. According to the SEC, the omission enabled Musk to continue purchasing shares at artificially low prices. Musk's role at the social network has been marked by numerous controversies and led to various legal actions on part of investors, former employees and companies that had contracts with Twitter, now called X. Shareholders, for example, have filed a lawsuit against Musk accusing him of disclosing his 5% stake in Twitter too late after the deadline set by the SEC. Global markets treaded water ahead of US consumer price data that could potentially lower the possibility of a rate cut this year. Investors are also waiting to see if earnings of big banks would match sky-high expectations. US equity futures were slightly firmer in Asia. Meanwhile, Japan's Nikkei gave up earlier gains to be off 1.1%, extending its losing streak to 5 days. In Europe, the spotlight is again on the UK after concerns about the country's fiscal outlook pummeled government bonds to 16-year lows. The local CPI report is due on Wednesday and is expected to show underlying inflation picked up to a monthly rate of 0.5%.